Formula 1 has always been a sport of closed doors, Chinese whispers, and backhand deals. Team bosses are always snitching on other teams in the media, and drivers are always checking each other's cars for anything illegal in Parc Ferme. Some of the snitching has gone too far though, and members of the F1 world are getting pretty fed up. Want to know why people are getting fed up with Lewis Hamilton? And what snitching does Christian Horner want investigating this time? Let's check it out. Lewis Hamilton isn't used to following his opponent's rear wings. The 7-time Drivers' Champion has made a habit of driving from the front in the past 8 years. So when Mercedes lost their dominant streak this season, who better to teach Hamilton the ways of the back marker than perennial back marker and his new teammate George Russell? I'm sure you've all seen the memes of George complaining about pretty much everything any driver does anywhere near him. Track limits is one of George's favourite complaints, and it started rubbing off on Lewis as well. Some members of the media have got fed up with the Mercedes team's constant complaints over the team radio this season though, especially when Sky Sports insists on broadcasting every single one of them. Ex-F1 driver and 3-time Le Mans 24-hour winner Hans-Joachim Stuck has said that all the drivers on the grid today need to step on the gas instead of snitching on one another. I don't agree with what they're doing because of the track limits, Stuck, a former F1 driver and 3-time Le Mans winner, said. I won't name names, but I wouldn't say over the radio that this driver or that driver has exceeded the track limits. That's pure snitching, he said, alluding to comments made by Lewis Hamilton about Max Verstappen in Austin. The boys should instead step on the gas. That's my opinion, he added. It is a side we haven't really seen of Lewis Hamilton before, but maybe that is just because we've never seen him stuck behind cars quite as much as he has been this season. In Austin especially, the track limits complaints about Max Verstappen were constant, and we heard every single one of them on the Sky broadcast. Despite the barrage of complaints about Max apparently breaking the rules though, not a single one was penalised by race control because Max wasn't actually exceeding track limits. It's like when you're at school and there's someone sat next to you that you really don't like, and you just shout at the teacher all the time saying things like, "So-and-so is looking at my work," or "So-and-so just scratched the desk," when actually they did nothing. You just really wanted them to get in trouble. No one liked that kid. It isn't just the media that have been making fun of Lewis's snitching though, it's the Red Bull team as well. Before we start talking about Red Bull and some of the more serious accusations being made in the paddock at the moment, let me tell you about Established Titles, an incredible company that's preserving the natural woodlands of Scotland and helping with global reforestation. This amazing last-minute gift makes you the owner of 1 square foot of land in Edelston, Scotland, and Established Titles plants a tree with the global charities, One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future. Saving the planet is obviously amazing, but this gift does something even better. There is an old Scottish tradition of calling landowners lairds, which is lord or lady to those of you who don't live in 15th century Scotland. By gifting someone land in Scotland, you give them the right to call themselves a lord or lady, and they get a certificate to prove it. You can add lord or lady to your credit card, plane tickets, or even your FIA super license. You do have one, don't you? The first 200 people who purchase a title pack using our link will get their plot pretty much directly next to mine. This isn't just an amazing last-minute gift, we could also start our own little Scottish kingdom. Established Titles is actually running a massive Black Friday sale right now. Plus, if you use the code F1Reverse, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/F1Reverse to get your gifts now and help support the channel. If you bought an Established Titles product with our code, let us know in the comments below so we can shout you out by your proper title. Back to the video, and before we talk about Christian Horner's calls for an investigation into snitching, let's see what Helmut Marko had to say about Lewis Hamilton snitching. Marko has had a light-hearted dig back at Lewis Hamilton over his reaction to the Red Bull budget cap controversy. As rumours swirled that Red Bull had breached the cost cap, Hamilton was asked for his views on the matter during the Japanese Grand Prix weekend. The 7-time former world champion was reluctant to give too strong an opinion, given nothing had officially been confirmed at the time he spoke. But he did insinuate Red Bull had been able to afford a surprising number of updates to their car at a time when Hamilton and Max Verstappen had been waging battle for the 2021 World Championship, a title that eventually went to the Dutchman. "What I can say is I remember last year at Silverstone we had our last upgrade," said the Mercedes driver. "But then we would see Red Bull every weekend or every other weekend, bringing upgrades. They had, I think, at least 4 more upgrades from that point. If we spent $300,000 on a new floor or adapted a wing, it would have changed the outcome of the championship naturally, because we would have been in better competition in the next race if you add it on. In the end, Red Bull were found guilty of exceeding the budget cap by $2.2 million, although an unclaimed tax credit offset that figure and brought it down to just over $430,000. Marko, during an interview, hinted Hamilton had been way off target by implying Red Bull could have developed a new wing with the amount they had gone over the limit. It was the first year of the budget cap, said the Red Bull driver development chief. The rules were vague. It was late to react with clarifications. We had everything checked by Ernst & Young. You have to rely on something. We believed we had a safety net of $3 million. In the end, only $400,000 remained. With that money, Hamilton is building a front wing, he said, grinning. Haas are making a whole new car. The typically cheeky comment from Marko was his way of saying that Lewis has no idea how much a new wing or floor costs to other teams. Every team has their own way of designing, developing, testing, and manufacturing parts, and the reality is that a new floor or wing might cost Mercedes $300,000, but it could cost another team, such as Haas, far less. While Marko might be making jokes about Lewis Hamilton snitching on the Red Bull team, Christian Horner is making some much more serious accusations, though his are at the FIA. Christian Horner has confirmed Red Bull is committed to pursuing the accusations made against the team by its rivals with regard to the budget cap breach. News of the breach first came to light across the Singapore Grand Prix weekend, much to the surprise of all at Red Bull, given the findings of the CCA had yet to be made public and discussions with the body are highly confidential. Horner said at the time Red Bull was considering its legal options with regards to the claims being made by its rivals, and is now looking to pursue the matter. Obviously, the accusations made in Singapore were extremely upsetting for every single member of our team, our partners, and everybody involved with Red Bull, said Horner. Any form of leakage is hugely worrying, so it's something we expect to be followed up. This isn't the first time that the FIA has been accused of having leaks this season, though. Back at the Canadian Grand Prix, Mercedes had an update fitted that was made legal less than 24 hours earlier by a technical directive that no other team knew about and was implemented illegally. Team bosses up and down the grid accused Mercedes of having a direct line into the FIA, and there was one person in particular who was thought to be their mole, Shayla and Rao, the interim FIA Secretary General for Motorsport. Rao previously worked for Mercedes as a legal advisor and a close aide to Toto Wolff before returning to the FIA earlier this year. Previously, she had a 2.5-year spell from 2016 to 2018 as the governing body's legal director. It was Rao who informed Horner his team had been found guilty of exceeding the cap, just 90 minutes after Max Verstappen had won his second driver's title at the Japanese Grand Prix. When the perceived leak of a technical directive to Mercedes happened in Canada, Mattia Binotto directly questioned whether her appointment to the FIA was appropriate, considering how close she was to Toto Wolff and the Mercedes team. Given Rao's involvement in the cost cap, it's easy to see why many people are asking again if she is leaking information to the Mercedes team. Horner was asked whether he felt the proceedings had been above board, and he simply replied, "It's not my position to talk about that." Not exactly a strong vote of confidence in the FIA or Rao from Horner. While the complaints and jokes at Mercedes' expense are really nothing, the accusations of leaks within the FIA are much more serious. But they are questions that should be being asked. How did Mercedes know about the technical directive before anyone else? And how did information about the budget cap compliance get out when discussions were meant to be confidential until an official announcement? Do you think the FIA has a leak? And is Mercedes to blame for the leak? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.